फलसारभक्षितम् उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारणं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजं सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करल्लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। Let's chant the shlokas from shloka 1. Namah Shri Shankarananda Gurupadambujanmane Savilasa Mahamoha Grahagrasaika Karmane Tatpadamburuhadvandva Seva nirmala chetasam Sukhabodhaya tattvasya Vivekoyam vidhiyate Shabdasparshadayo vedya Vaichitryaajagare prathak Tato vibhakta tatsamvit Aikarupyanabhidyate. There is a misprint in this PDF, in this copy. Aikyarupyat is there. It should be Aikarupyat. The ya after ka should go away. Aikarupyat. Tat samvidayikarupyat. Tat samvidayikarupyanabhidyate is the correct reading. So only in this copy there is a mistake. Yeah. तथा स्वप्नेत्र वेद्यन्तु न स्थिरं जागरे स्थिरम् तद्भेदोतस्तयोः संविद् एकरूपानभिद्यते. So far we saw in Jagrad Avastha, in the waking state, the objects vary, but the consciousness does not vary. The consciousness remains the same throughout Jagrad Avastha. And it is so even in Swapnavastha. Even in dream state, the consciousness does not change. Only the objects keep changing. Also, between Jagrat and Swapna, between waking and dream, where is the difference? The difference is not in consciousness. The difference is not in Chaitanya, which Vidyaranya calls Samvit. The difference is not in Samvit. The same Samvit which witnesses the Jagradavastha also witnesses the Swapnavastha. Therefore, in terms of the Samvit, in terms of the consciousness, there is no difference between Jagradavastha and Swapnavastha. Then where lies the difference? The difference is in the nature of the objects, nature of the Vedya, the objects of knowledge. Why do we call one avastha Jagradavastha and the other avastha is called Swapnavastha? What makes the difference? The author said, in Jagradavastha, the objects are sthira. The objects are steady because they don't disappear. After you sleep and wake up, they don't disappear. Whereas in Swapnavastha, the objects are asthira. Because if you keep something in one Swapnavastha and wake up from that Swapnavastha and go back to Swapnavastha again the following day, you will not find the same object. Therefore, the objects are asthira in Swapnavastha. Therefore, the difference between Jagradavastha and Swapnavastha is only in terms of the nature of the objects, not in the nature of the consciousness. The consciousness continues to be the same. Thus, two avasthas were discussed yesterday. Now let us look into the third avastha, which is called Sushupti, deep sleep. Shloka 5. Suptothitasya saushupta tamo bodho bhavet smritihi sacha buddha vishaya avabuddhan tattadatamah. What do we experience in Sushupti? What do you experience in Sushupti? If I ask this question, I cannot ask this question to a person who is sleeping. What do you see? I cannot ask when you are sleeping. That is why sometimes they ring up and then they ask, "Are you sleeping?" If I am sleeping, I will not be able to answer the call. I was sleeping. When you called, I woke up and I answered. That is possible. So during sleep, one cannot say what he is experiencing. Therefore, in order to study the deep sleep, we rely on the memory. After waking up, what do you remember about the deep sleep state? We have to depend on the memory. All of us get a memory. After waking up, we say, I was sleeping happily. I didn't know anything. I was not aware of anything. I was not aware of anything means there was ignorance in deep sleep. Therefore, after waking up, we have a memory of ignorance that we experienced in deep sleep. Therefore, the author says, Suptothitasya, one who slept and woke up, only then you can ask him, what did you see in deep sleep? Because during sleep, he cannot say. Suptothitaha. After sleeping, he has woken up. And then what does he say? Tamobodhaha smritihi bhavet. He gets a memory, a smriti. And the smriti is that of ignorance, tamas, darkness. Tamas means darkness. In the case of sushupti, it is ignorance. That is why he says, after waking up, if he knows Sanskrit, he will say, Na kinchidavedesham. I didn't know anything. Na kinchidavedesham. I didn't know anything means he is remembering the experience of ignorance. It is a memory because it is referring to the past. Tamobodha, the knowledge of ignorance during sleep happens in the form of a memory. All of us have a memory of the deep sleep. Now, the author says, there is such a memory, and from the memory, we can infer the experience of ignorance during the deep sleep. From the memory, we can infer the experience of ignorance during the deep sleep. Therefore, the author says, Sa cha avabuddha vishaya. Sa refers to the smriti, the memory. Memory of ignorance has risen from the experience of ignorance. Because every memory precedes an experience. Without an experience, there cannot be a memory. You have visited the temples. When you visited, it was experience. And the experience has become memory now. You will remember, yeah, I went to temple. Now somebody asks you, what is the proof that you went to temple? How can you say that you went to temple? Then you will say, I have the memory, I visited the temple. So memory is a testimony for an experience. If you have not visited the temple, you wouldn't have had the memory of the temple. In the same manner, after waking up, we have a memory of ignorance. From that, we can infer the experience of ignorance. Therefore, Vidyaranya says, Sa cha avabuddha vishaya. The memory of deep sleep is based on the experience of ignorance of deep sleep, ignorance in deep sleep. Therefore, tat tada tamaha avabuddham. During deep sleep, we experience ignorance. Therefore, in deep sleep, is there any Vedya? Is there any Vedya in deep sleep? There is. What is the Vedya? Ignorance. The object that you experience in deep sleep is ignorance. You don't experience any distinct object. You don't experience any name and form, but you experience ignorance in deep sleep. Therefore, there is a Vedya in deep sleep also. This is proved in this shloka. Even in deep sleep, there is a Vedya. It is not Nama Rupa. It is not in the form of any given object, like with the name and form, but it is ignorance. If ignorance is the Vedya, then there has to be a Samvit also in deep sleep. There has to be consciousness also in deep sleep. Because without the presence of consciousness, ignorance cannot be known. If ignorance is experienced, there has to be the one who illumines the ignorance. There has to be someone who experiences the ignorance, who witnesses the ignorance. And that is samvit, the Chaitanya, the consciousness. That is how Vidyaranya establishes with logic that there is a consciousness in deep sleep also. There is samvit in deep sleep also. This logic is needed to counter a person who argues there is no consciousness in deep sleep. There are some people who argue this way. There is no consciousness in deep sleep. If he says so, you have to first ask him this question. After deep sleep, do you have any memory of the deep sleep or not? Then he will say, yes, I have a memory of the deep sleep. What memory do you have? I have the memory of ignorance. Na kinchida vedesham. This memory I have regarding the deep sleep. That means you have a memory of ignorance after coming from the deep sleep. And then Vidyaranya says, the memory cannot exist without a direct experience. Because every memory precedes an experience. Without eating mango, you cannot have the memory of mango. Somebody who says, I never ate mango, but I have the memory of mango, it is not possible. If he has the memory, he should have eaten at some point. Likewise, if you have the memory of absolute ignorance, then that means during sushupti, during deep sleep, you have experienced ignorance. That means ignorance is vedya in deep sleep. In deep sleep, there is a vedya. If there is a vedya in deep sleep, there has to be a consciousness also. There has to be the samvit also. That is how we establish the presence of samvit, the presence of consciousness, even in the deep sleep. The consciousness does not switch off in deep sleep. Everything else can be switched off. One thing cannot be switched off. What is that? Chaitanya, consciousness. It has no switch. Sometimes some lights don't have a switch. Consciousness does not have a switch. You cannot put on and off. Everything else switches off. In deep sleep, what happens? Your indriyas switch off. All the senses, they switch off. Eyes, ears, everything switches off. They close their office. That is how deep sleep happens. Indriyani. See, every indriya sits in its office. See, this chakshurindriya. The eyeball that you see is the office. The indriya is not the eyeball. Eyeball is sukshma, indriya is sukshma. It is subtle. You cannot see the indriya. It is a part of sukshma sharira. This eyeball is the office of the indriya. When we wake up, the indriya opens its office, sits in the eyeball, and operates through the eyeball. All the transaction happen, give and take, just like the shop. This eyeball is also like a shop. When we go to deep sleep, the indriya shuts down its office and rests. So it is switched off. The indriyas are switched off when we go to sleep. Even the manas switches off. Even the mind switches off. In deep sleep, the mind is not working. So everything else can switch off. The consciousness cannot switch off. There is no switch for consciousness. It is always shining. Let us continue. Sabodho vishayad bhinno nabodhat swapna bodhavat evam sthanatrayepyeka संवित्तद्वद्दिनान्तरे मासाब्दयुगकल्पेषु गतागम्येष्वनेकधा नोदेति नास्तमेत्येका संविदेशा स्वयं प्रभा. Yeah. Yeah. Sabodho vishayad bhinnaha. There is a consciousness even in deep sleep. There is samvit even in deep sleep. Now this consciousness, is it different from the object or non-different from the object? It is different from the object. Therefore the consciousness is different from the ignorance in deep sleep. Ignorance itself is not consciousness. Therefore, sabodhaha, the consciousness which is there in the deep sleep, is different from the object. It is independent from the object. But is the consciousness in deep sleep different from the other consciousness? The deep sleep consciousness, is it different from the consciousness of the waking? It is not. It is the same consciousness. Therefore the author says, na bodhat saha bodhaha bodhat na bhinnaha. The deep sleep consciousness is not different from the waking consciousness. Just like the swapna bodha, just like the consciousness in dream, just like the consciousness in dream is not different from the consciousness in waking, in the same manner, the consciousness in deep sleep is not different from the consciousness in waking. Therefore, in a day, in 24 hours, if we experience the three states, in all three states, the consciousness remains one and the same. There is no change in consciousness. What changes? The object changes. The avasthatraya, the three avasthas, belong to the object, not to the consciousness. The same consciousness experiences the three objects in the three states without any change. Therefore, evam sthanatraye api, thus, evam, thus, sthanatraye api, in three states, in all the three states, waking, dream and deep sleep, in all the three states, eka samvit, there is only one consciousness, no change in consciousness, and it is in one day. Supposing in one day we are experiencing the three states. In one day the consciousness does not change. And Vidyaranya says, Tadvad dinantare. Just like in one day the consciousness does not change, even in the other day, second day, does consciousness change every day? Today one, tomorrow another. It does not change. The mind changes. Today you have one mind. One mind means one thought. Mind itself does not change. The thoughts change. There is a change in the mind. It's not that one, just like a replacement of tire. You replace one tire with another, like that you replace one mind with another. It is not so. The mind undergoes change. Today you have one way of thinking. Tomorrow you will have another way of thinking. Today some people are thinking, okay, we will stay for 6 more days. Tomorrow somebody may think, no, let me go after 1 day or 2 days. Even that is possible. Somebody may get fed up also. 8 days is too long. So the mind changes, but the Chaitanya does not change. Consciousness does not change. The same consciousness continues the following day also. What changes from one day to another day? Everything other than consciousness changes. Our mind has changed. Our body has also changed. We have become 1 day older. Already we have become 1 day older. Yesterday, what was your age? Today, your age is different. If you count it in terms of days. That is why, to be comfortable, we count it in terms of years. We are aging every day. The body changes, the mind changes, the external world changes, but the consciousness does not change. The same consciousness continues another day also. And now the author says, not only this day and the following day, even if you consider any greater unit of time, masa, month, does the consciousness change with any month? No. Abda, year, month, year, and yuga. Yuga means several thousands of years is called yuga. And then there is another unit of time, kalpa. Kalpa is many thousands of yugas put together. $2,000 yuga is one kalpa. Sahasra yuga paryantam aharyad brahmano viduhu. Ratrim yuga sahasrantam teho ratra vido janaha. One ahoratra of Brahmadeva is one kalpa. This is called Shvetavaraha kalpa. The present kalpa is called Shvetavaraha kalpa. In Sankalpa you might have told Shvetavaraha kalpe. Even if you take any astronomical unit of time, the consciousness does not change. Masabda yuga kalpeshu anek gatagamyeshu, whether in the past, gata, or agamya, future. Consciousness never changed in the past, and the consciousness is never going to change in the future also. Anekadha, the time keeps varying. Every time has its own nature. Every yuga has its own nature. What is happening in Kali Yuga was not there in Dwapara Yuga. What was happening in Dwapara Yuga was not there in Treta Yuga. Even within Kali Yuga, what is there in 21st century was not there in 20th century. You have the mobile phone, smartphone. Even when we were young, we didn't have mobile phone and smartphone. See how quickly it changes. Time changes. And with the time, everything changes. But the consciousness never changes. No deti nastametyeka samvit. The samvit does not rise and set. This is what I told. Consciousness cannot be switched off. Na udeti. It does not rise. And it does not set also. With any other rise and set, with any other rise and fall, the consciousness does not rise and fall. Even during pralaya, even during sushupti, the consciousness remains shining through. The consciousness remains illumining all through, remains shining all through. Now, another important point is conveyed in this shloka, shloka 7. Samvidesha swayam prabha the Samvit, the consciousness is Swayam Prabha. Very important word. Swayam Prabha is also called Swayam Jyotihi or Swaprakasha. Swaprakasha, Swayam Jyotihi or Swayam Prabha all mean same. One may get a doubt. If there is no other consciousness, suppose there is no other consciousness. See, Samvit Eka. The author said Samvit Eka. Consciousness is one. It is only one. If consciousness is only one, who knows this consciousness? Who illumines this consciousness? Let us look into the Vyakhyana. I am reading from Ramakrishna Vyakhya. Nanu samvidantarabhave grahakabhavat asyaha api abhane jagadandhyam prasajjeta ityata aha. Suppose there is no other consciousness. No other consciousness. Then who will know this consciousness? Let us try to understand this in a better way. See, everything need somebody else to be somebody else to know it. For example, this table. We are knowing this table. What sees this table? Our eyes. Our eyes see this table. We can also put it in another way. Our eyes illumine this table. Without our eyes, this table would not have been known at all. Suppose nobody had eyes in this world, the table would have been as good as non-existent, because nobody would have known the table. Suppose nobody had eyes, nobody had senses. So, our eyes illumine the table. Therefore, table becomes evident. Now, even our eyes have to be known by someone. Even our eyes have to be illumined by someone. Who is that? Our mind. Without mind, even our eyes and their functions cannot be known. Therefore, to see the table, we need the eyes. To see the eyes, we need mind. Now, to see the mind, what do we need? To see the mind, we need consciousness. Consciousness witnesses the mind also. Therefore, to see anything, we need another agent. To see the mind, we need consciousness. To know the mind, we need consciousness. Samvit. Now, who knows the Samvit? According to you, the Purvapakshi says. The Purvapakshi says, O Vedanti, according to you, there is no other consciousness. That means the consciousness is not known by anyone. If the consciousness is not known by anyone, the consciousness is as good as non-existent. Because if nobody knows it, then it will be as good as non-existent. And if the consciousness itself is not known, then everything known by the consciousness also is not known by anyone. Therefore, according to your Siddhanta, Purvapakshi tells us, according to your Siddhanta, there is something called Jagadandhya Prasanga. The whole universe will be blind. It is called Jagadandhya. There is nobody to know anything. There would be nobody to know anything, according to you. Because according to you, the consciousness is only one. And it is, if it is only one, there is nobody to know this consciousness. Therefore, there is nobody to know anything. This is a logical fallacy. Purvapakshi is objecting. If you accept only one consciousness, there will be the logical fallacy of Jagadandhya. Nobody knows anything. Then Siddhanti says, there is no Jagadandhya Prasanga. Such fallacy does not exist in our vision, because the consciousness does not need another knower. The consciousness does not need another illuminer. Because the consciousness is self-effulgent, self-luminous. It is just like the sun does not need a torchlight. Where is the sun? If you have to see something in darkness, you have to see, you need a torch, a flashlight. But to illumine the sun, you don't need another light. Because the sunlight illumines everything else and it shines itself. It shines itself and illumines everything else. In the same manner, the consciousness is self-effulgent. Therefore, it does not need another agent to illuminate. The definition of Swayam Prabha, the definition of Swaprakasha, Svetara Aprakashyatve Sati, Svetara Sarva Prakashakaha, Swayam Prakashakaha. Swayam Prakasha. The self-effulgent. What is self-effulgent? It does not need any other light to illuminate. Svetara Aprakashya. It need not be illumined by another light. Instead, it illumines everything else. Therefore, it is called Swaprakasha. The Vedas describe the self-effulgent nature of the Atma, the Swaprakashatva of the Atma. Jyotishan Jyotihi. The Atma is described as Jyotishan Jyotihi. Light of all lights. It is the light of all lights. It is even the light of this sunlight, this physical light. Because what illumines the physical light? It is the Atma. Without the Atma Chaitanya, we would not have known this physical light. The physical light and even our senses, even our mind, everything is illumined by the same Atma Jyotihi. Therefore, it is Swayam Prakasha. I need some tissues. Next shloka, shloka 8. Iyamatma paranandaha parapremaspadam yataha manabhuvam hi bhuyasam iti prematmanikshate. In this verse, the author conveys 2 points. Number 1, the consciousness, the samvit, which was discussed so far, is the Atma. It is Atma. Iyam Atma. Iyam samvit Atma. The Chaitanya is Atma. The consciousness which illumines everything, all the 3 states. The consciousness which does not change with any state. The consciousness which does not change with any age. This consciousness is Atma. Why it is called Atma? Because it is the one who deserves the reference I. Anything else does not deserve to be called I. Why anything else does not deserve to be called I? Because everything other than consciousness is object. Anything that can be objectified does not deserve the reference I. For example, I cannot say I the book. I the book. I cannot refer to this book as I. I touch here and say I, but I cannot touch here and say I. Why? Because the book is object. The book is an object of consciousness. With respect to this book, it is very clear, very evident that the book is an object of the consciousness. Therefore, we don't make a mistake with respect to this book. But we make mistake with respect to our body, with our mind, because we are not very sure that the body, etc., are object. But if you analyze, even the body does not deserve the reference I, because even the body is an object. Even the mind is an object. Therefore, body and mind, they do not deserve the reference I. Therefore, they are not Atma. Then what is the Atma? Atma is only Chaitanya, consciousness. Because the consciousness is the one which never becomes object. It never becomes the object of consciousness. Therefore, it is aham pratyaya yogyaha, the one who deserves the reference I. Everything other than the Chaitanya, everything other than the consciousness, only deserve idam pratyaya. This, you can call this book, not I book. This table, not I table. Therefore, iyam Atma, the samvit is Atma. We'll continue in the next session. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.